Hello everybody, this is Refresh and I am here to bring you a battle between the Guilds of Ravnica guild kits and the Face the Hydra challenge deck from Theros. We'll be playing 2 games on normal difficulty with 3 Hydra heads, and then we'll be back for hard mode. For these battles, we'll be using 2 hero cards per deck. The first hero card is the Harvester. It says tap, draw a card, and then discard a card. Because I only have 1 copy of each of these cards, I'm going to be applying the Harvester to each of these decks, and then each deck will have its own individual hero card. Dimir here has the Avenger. It says 3 tap target creature you control gains death touch until end of turn. Boros has the Warrior. Tap target creature you control gains haste until end of turn. Golgari has the Hunter. It says tap target creature you control gets +1/+1 until end of turn. So Selesnya has the Protector. It says tap prevent the next 1 damage that would occur to target creature or player. And then Izzet has the Philosopher. It says 2 tap target creature. We'll go ahead and start with 7 cards apiece. Dimir draws a Dimir Guild Mage, Mephitic Vapors, Last Gasp, Etrata the Silencer, Ribbons of the Night, Price of Fame, and Netherborn Phalanx. There are no lands here, and so we are going to mulligan this right now. Dimir draws a Swamp, Dimir Aqueduct, Dimir Guildgate, Island, Notion Rain, Stolen Identity, and Dimir Aqueduct. This is now too many lands, but I think we're going to keep this on the hope that Notion Rain will draw us into some kind of action. Boros draws a Boros Reckoner, Plains, Hammer Dropper, Mountain, Bright Flame, Boros Swiftblade, and Sky Knight Legionnaire. This is not enough lands, and so we're going to send this back. Now Boros draws a Boros Signet, Sunholden Guildmage, Sworn Companions, Wojek Bodyguard, Boros Elite, Boros Swiftblade, and Martial Glory. 0 lands is worse than 2 lands. We'll send this back. Now we draw a Boros Garrison, Bright Flame, Spark Trooper, Sunholden Guildmage, Boros Guildgate, Bomber Corps, and Legion Loyalist. We can't really keep this hand either. Now there's a Hammer Dropper, Boros Garrison, Martial Glory, Firemane Angel, Boros Guildgate, Boros Guildgate, and Sky Knight Legionnaire. This is not a very good hand at all, but it is the hand that we're going to keep. Going to 5, we're going to reject the Martial Glory, we're going to reject the Firemane Angel, and we'll keep the 3 lands and the 2 creatures. Golgari draws a Drown in Filth, Hatchery Spider, Karastic Guildmage, Golgari Finebroker, Swamp, Slum Reaper, and Ione Thousand Eyed. 1 land will not do, so we will send this back. Golgari draws a Swamp, Golgari Guildgate, Forest, Slum Reaper, Abrupt Decay, Swamp, and Deadbridge Goliath. I think this is a fine first hand, and I think this is a bit of a slow first hand, but I think we're going to keep it just because we have things that we can cast. Selesnya draws an Hour of Reckoning, Call of the Conclave, Plains, Forest, Tolsimir Wolfblood, Conclave, Caller, and Devouring Light. I don't think we keep a 2-lander, even with Call of the Conclave, so we're going to send this back. Now we get a Selesnya Guildgate, Forest, Selesnya Charm, Plains, Call of the Conclave, and Watchwolf. This is actually a pretty decent first hand, and so we will keep it. Izzet draws Tibor and Lumnia, Char, Izzet Guildgate, Goblin Electromancer, Mountain, Izzet Boilerworks, and Izzet Boilerworks. It's not a great hand, but it is a hand that we can keep, so we will do so. Because this multiplayer will draw on the first turn, Dimir draws a Ribbons of the Night, and we will play the Dimir Guildgate tapped. Boros draws a Boros Guildgate, and we'll play the Boros Guildgate tapped. Golgari draws a Hatchery Spider, and we'll play the Golgari Guildgate tapped. Selesnya draws a Plains, and we'll play the Selesnya Guildgate tapped. Izzet draws a Shattering Spree, and we'll play the Izzet Guildgate tapped. We'll go to the Hydra's turn. The Hydra will cast the topmost card. This is Disorienting Glower. Players can't cast spells until the Hydra's next turn. Brutal. We will take 3 damage apiece. Selesnya will tap the Protector to protect Izzet from taking damage. Izzet will go to 18. The rest of the decks will go to 17. At the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Dimir will draw a Dimir Guildmage, and we will discard the Ribbons of the Night. Boros will draw a Mountain, and we will discard a Boros Guildgate. Golgari will draw a Forest, and we will discard the Slum Reaper. Selesnya will draw a forest, and we'll discard the forest. Izzet will draw a mountain, and we will discard the Shattering Spree. We'll untap. Dimir draws an unexplained disappearance. Boros draws a Boros Signet. Golgari draws a Stinkweed Imp. Selesnya draws a Selesnya Sanctuary. Izzet draws an Izzet Guildgate. Dimir will play an island. Boros will play the Guildgate tapped. Golgari will play a swamp. Selesnya will play a plains. Izzet will play an Izzet Guildgate tapped. We'll go to the Hydra's turn. They'll cast the topmost card, which is Unified Lunge. We'll take X damage, where X is the number of heads on the battlefield. We have 3 heads, so we'll take 3 damage plus another 3 damage for a total of 6 damage. Selesnya will tap the Protector and reduce damage to Dimir by 1. Dimir and Izzet will go to 12, and the rest will go to 11. We'll use the Harvester at the end of the turn. Dimir draws a Nightveil Predator, and we will discard the Notion Rain. Boros draws a Boros Swiftblade and discards the Signet. Golgari draws a Graveshell Scarab and will discard the Graveshell Scarab. Selesnya will draw a Privileged Position and discard the Privileged Position. Izzet will draw a Thunderheads and then will discard a Mountain. We'll untap. Dimir draws a Netherborn Phalanx. Boros draws a Spark Trooper. Golgari draws a Golgari Rot Farm. Selesnya draws a Plains. Izzet draws a Nivix Guildmage. Dimir will tap the island and the Guildgate and play the Dimir Guildmage. It's a 2/2 human wizard. Target player draws a card. Activate this ability only anytime you could cast sorcery. And then for 3 and a black, target player discards the card. Same thing. Then we'll play the Dimir Aqueduct, and it enters the battlefield tap. You're forced to bounce a land back to your hand. We do. And then you can tap it to add blue and black. Boros taps 2 and plays the Boros Swiftblade. This is a 1/2 double strike human soldier. And then we'll play the Boros Garrison, picking up the Boros Guildgate. And it can tap for red and white. Golgari will play a forest. We'll tap all 3 and we'll play Stinkweed Imp. This is a 1/2 imp with flying, and whenever it deals combat damage to a creature, destroy that creature. You can dredge 5. Selesnya will play a forest, and we'll tap these 2 and play the Watch Wolf. It's a 3/3 wolf. Izzet will tap both of these, and then we'll play the Goblin Electromancer. It's a 2/2 Goblin Wizard, and instant and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. We'll also play a mountain. We'll go to the Hydra's turn. It'll cast the topmost card, which is a Hydra head. We have 4 heads and deal 4 damage to each player. Selesnya will tap the Protector to protect Boros. So Selesnya and Golgari will go down to 7, while the rest go down to 8. At the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Dimir draws a Price of Fame and will discard the Price of Fame. Boros draws a Boros Charm and will discard the Boros Charm. Golgari draws a Gaze of Granite and discards the Abrupt Decay. Selesnya draws a Plains and discards the Plains. Izzet draws a Mountain and will discard the Mountain. We'll untap. Dimir draws a Dimir Aqueduct. Boros draws a Legion Warboss. Golgari draws a Grizzly Salvage. Selesnya draws a Scatter the Seeds. Izzet draws an island. Dimir will play a swamp. We'll spend 4 mana to play the Nightveil Predator. This is a 3/3 vampire with flying, death touch, and hexproof. Boros plays a mountain. We'll tap out and then play the Hammer Dropper. This is a 5/2 giant soldier with Mentor. Golgari will play a swamp, and then we'll tap out and play the Deadbridge Goliath. This is a 5/5 insect with Scavenge, 4 green. Selesnya will tap 2 and will play Call of the Conclave. Creates a 3/3 green centaur creature token. There's our centaur. And then we'll play the Selesnya Sanctuary. It enters the battlefield. It bounces the land back to our hand. And you can tap it for green and white. Izzet plays the island. We'll tap all 4. And then we'll play Tibor and Lumia. This is a 3/3 legendary human wizard. Whenever you cast a blue spell, target creature gains flying until end of turn. And whenever you cast a red spell, Tibor and Lumia deals 1 damage to each creature without flying. We'll go to combat. The Guild Mage will attack a Hydra head. The Stinkweed will attack a different Hydra head. The Watchwolf will attack a different Hydra head. And Boros will tap the Warrior to give the Hammer Dropper a haste. And we will attack with the Hammer Dropper and the Boros Swiftblade, putting a counter on the Boros Swiftblade off of Mentor. And they will attack two different Hydra heads. We will unattack with the Guild Mage, and that will kill all 4 Hydra heads. The Hydra loses all 4 heads. We'll gain 8 life apiece. That'll take Golgari and Selesnya up to 15, and the others to 16. Then we'll reveal 8 cards to see if there are any new heads. There are 2 new heads. We have a Ravenous Brute head and a Hydra head. We'll pass the turn to the Hydra, who will cast the topmost card. That is Distract the Hydra. Each player may sacrifice a creature. Each player that sacrificed a creature this way chooses a head and taps it. Each player who didn't sacrifice a creature loses 3 life. Since we just gained all that life, we'll lose 3 life. We'll take another 3 damage from the Brute head and the Hydra head. Selesnya will tap the Protector to reduce the damage to Golgari by 1. This will take Selesnya to 12 and the rest to 13. We'll use the Harvester. Dimir draws a Swamp and will discard an Aqueduct. Boros draws a Sunhome Fortress of Legion and will discard the Spark Trooper. Golgari draws a Lotlith Troll and will discard the Grizzly Salvage. Selesnya will draw a Conclave Cavalier and will discard a Plains. Izzet draws an Island and will discard a Boilerworks. We'll untap. Dimir draws a Dimir Aqueduct. Boros draws a Lightning Helix. Golgari draws a Plaguecrafter. Selesnya draws a Camaraderie. Izzet draws a Guttersnipe. Dimir will play an Island. Boros will play the Guildgate tapped. We'll tap 3 and we'll play the Legion Warboss. This is a 2/2 Goblin Soldier with Mentor. At the beginning of combat on your turn, create a 1/1 red Goblin creature token. That creature gains haste until end of turn and attacks this turn if able. Golgari will spend 2 mana and play the Lotlith Troll. This is a 2/1 Zombie Troll with Trample. Discard a creature card, put a +1/+1 counter on Lotlith Troll, and you can spend black to regenerate Lotlith Troll. We'll play the Golgari Rock Farm, and it enters the battlefield tap. We'll pick up a card. We'll pick up the Swamp, and it taps for black and green. Selesnya will play a Plains. We'll tap all of this to play the Conclave Cavalier. This is a 4/4 Centaur Knight with Vigilance. When it dies, create 2 2/2 green and white elf knight creature tokens with Trample. Izzet will play an Island. We'll tap 2 to cast Nivix Guild Mage. It's a 2/2 human wizard, and you can pay 1 blue-red to draw a card, then discard a card, or 2 blue-red to copy target instant or sorcery spell you control. You may choose new targets for the copy. This will trigger Tibor and Lumia. Will make the Lotlith Troll gain flying, and everything will take 1 damage, except for the Lotlith Troll. Everything survives that. We'll go to combat. Legion Warboss generates a Goblin, and then we will attack with everybody, giving the Warboss haste. The Hammer Dropper will put a counter on Warboss, and Warboss will put a counter on Swiftblade, and then we'll easily kill both of these creatures. The heads die. We'll each gain 4 life apiece, and then we will each draw a card. That'll take Selesnya to 16 and every other deck to 17. Dimir draws a Swamp. Boros draws a Mountain. Golgari draws a Shambling Shell. Selesnya draws a Plains. Izzet draws an Island. We'll reveal 4 cards to see if there are any new heads. There's 1 new Hydra head. We'll go to the Hydra's turn. They'll cast the topmost card, which is Torn Between Heads. Tap up to 2 heads. They don't untap during the Hydra's next untap step. It'll deal 5 damage to each player. The Hydra head is tapped. Will take 5 damage apiece. Selesnya will prevent 1 damage to itself, taking every deck down to 12. We'll use the Harvester. Dimir draws a Dimir Charm, and we'll discard a Dimir Aqueduct. Boros draws Aurelia Warleader, and we will discard the Lightning Helix. Golgari draws a Vigor Mortis, and we'll discard the Plaguecrafter. Selesnya draws an Armada Worm, and we'll discard the Plains. Izzet draws an Izzet Signet, and we'll discard the Izzet Signet. We'll untap. Dimir draws a Last Gasp. Boros draws a Plains. Golgari draws a Golgari Signet. Selesnya draws a Watchwolf. Izzet draws Invoke the Firemind. Dimir will play a Swamp, and we will tap out to play Stolen Identity. It's a sorcerer. It says create a token that's a copy of a target artifact or creature, or create a copy of the Nightveiled Predator. And it ciphers for the rest of the game. Whenever Nightveiled Predator deals combat damage, we'll be able to cast Stolen Identity again. Boros will play the Sunholm Fortress of the Legion. We'll tap out and play Aurelia the War Leader. She's a 3/4 legendary angel with flying, vigilance, and haste. Whenever Aurelia attacks for the first time each turn, untap all creatures you control. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase. Golgari will play a forest and will hold. Selesnya will play a forest and will hold. Izzet will play an island and will hold. We'll go to combat. We'll make another goblin. Everybody will attack. The Hammer Dropper will put a counter on the Legion Warboss. The Legion Warboss will put a counter on Aurelia. And that'll be enough to definitely kill the Hydra Head. The Hydra Head dies. Each player will gain 2 life to go up to 14. We'll reveal 2 cards to see if there are any new heads. There are no new heads, and so the Guilds of Ravnica kits defeat the Hydra. We'll be right back for hard mode. We're back for hard mode. We have 4 Hydra heads assembled, and we'll get started with 7 cards apiece. Dimir draws a Dimir Doppelganger, Telling Time Island, Dimir Guildgate, Dimir Aqueduct, Dimir Guildgate, and Stolen Identity. It's not a good hand, but we're gonna keep it because of Telling Time. Boros draws a Bright Flame, Boros Garrison, Plains, Sunholm Guildmage, Sworn Companions, Martial Glory, and Agris Koss, Wojek Veteran. I think the lack of lands keeps this hand from being okay. We're gonna mulligan. Boros draws a Plains, Boros Keyrune, Mountain, Martial Glory, Boros Guildgate, Boros Signet, and Sunholm Fortress of the Legion. This has no action whatsoever, but I think we're gonna keep it because at the very least we have the Keyrune. That's something. Golgari draws a Golgari Rot Farm, Guildgate, Deathrite Shaman, Swamp, Signet, Deadbridge Chant, and Forest. It's not a good hand, but it is a hand that we will keep. Selesnya draws a Conclave Cavalier, Siege Worm, Trostani Selesnya's Voice, Selesnya Evangel, Plains, Armada Worm, and Loxodon Hierarch. We have 1 land that's not a keeper. We're going to return it. Selesnya draws a Forest, Hour of Reckoning, Selesnya Sanctuary, Conclave Cavalier, Trostani Selesnya's Voice, Glare of the Subdual, and Selesnya Sanctuary. It's not great, but I think we can keep this one. Izzet draws Izzet Guildgate, Cerebral Vortex, Hypersonic Dragon, Char, Turn and Burn, Mountain, and Thunderheads. 2 lands and nothing to cast is not good. We're going to return this. Izzet draws a Mountain, Weed, Dragonauts, Gutter Snipe, Beacon Bolt, Mountain, and Izzet Signet. I wouldn't keep this hand except for the fact that we have an Izzet Signet to get us the blue mana we need to cast everything else in the hand, so we will keep this hand. Turn 1, we draw. Dimir draws a Dimir Aqueduct. Boros draws a Firemane Avenger. Golgari draws a Longlith Troll. Selesnya draws Advent of the Worm. Izzet draws Izzet Guildgate. Dimir will play the Guildgate tapped. Boros will play the Guildgate tapped. Golgari will play the Guildgate tapped. Selesnya will play a Forest. Izzet will play the Guildgate tapped. We'll go to the Hydra's turn. They'll cast the topmost card, which is Unified Lunge. It deals X damage to each player, where X is the number of heads on the battlefield. That's 4 for a total of 8 damage this turn. Selesnya will tap to protect Izzet, and then Izzet will go down to 13 while everybody else goes down to 12. At the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Dimir draws a Utrata the Silencer, and we will discard a Dimir Guildgate. Boros draws a Plains, and we'll discard the Martial Glory. Golgari draws a Swamp, and we'll discard the Swamp. Selesnya draws a Selesnya Evangel, and we'll discard the Hour of Reckoning. Izzet draws a Mountain, we'll discard the Mountain. We'll untap. Dimir draws a Dimir Guildgate. Boros draws a Boros Garrison. Golgari draws a Dark Blast. Selesnya draws a Selesnya Guildgate. Izzet draws a Goblin Rally. Izzet will play an island. We'll tap the island and the Guildgate to play Telling Time. It's an instant. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. Put one into your hand, one on the bottom of your library, and one on the top of your library. We get a Dimir Charm, Dimir Guildmage, and a Swamp. We'll put the Swamp on the bottom of the library. We'll put the Charm into our hand and the Guildmage on the top of the library. Boros will play in Plains. We'll tap both of these to play the Boros Signet. It's an artifact. You can pay 1, tap, add red, white. Golgari plays a Forest. We'll tap both of these to play the Lotleth Troll. Selesnya will play the Selesnya Guildgate tapped. Izzet will play a Mountain. We'll tap the Mountain and the Guildgate to play an Izzet Signet. It's an artifact. You can pay 1 to tap and add blue and red. We'll go to the Hydra's turn. The Hydra will play the topmost card, which is Noxious Hydra Breath. Noxious Hydra Breath deals 5 damage to each player or destroy each tapped non-head creature. We'll choose to destroy each tapped non-head creature. There are none. We'll take another 4 damage from the Hydra. Selesnya will tap the Protector to protect Boros. Izzet and Boros will go down to 9 and everybody else will go down to 8. We'll use the Harvester at the end of the turn. Dimir draws a Dimir Guildmage, and we will discard the Dimir Doppelganger. Boros draws an Argus Cost Wojak Veteran, and we will discard the Plains. Golgari will draw a Forest, and we'll discard the Dark Blast. Selesnya will draw a Plains, and we'll discard the Glare of Subdual. Izzet will draw an Island, and we'll discard a Mountain. We'll untap. Dimir draws a Mission Briefing. Boros draws a Boros Guildgate. Golgari draws a Karastic Guildmage. Selesnya draws a Selesnya Guildgate. Izzet draws a Firemind Research. Dimir will play the Dimir Guildgate, and it enters the battlefield tapped. We'll tap the other 2 to play the Dimir Guildmage. Boros will play the Mountain. Boros will tap the Mountain to tap the Signet, to tap, and then tap the other 2 to play the Firemane Angel. This is a 3/3 Angel with flying, and whenever it and at least 2 other creatures attack, Firemane Angel deals 3 damage to any target, and you gain 3 life. We'll tap the Warrior to give it haste. Golgari will play a Swamp. We'll tap the Swamp in the Forest to play the Golgari Signet. It's an artifact. For 1 tap, you get black and green. We'll tap the Guildgate to tap the Signet to play the Karastic Guildmage. This is a 2/2 Elf Shaman, and for 1 black green, target creature gets +1/+1 and Intimidate until end of turn. For 2 black green, sacrifice a non-token creature. Create X 1/1 green sapling creature tokens, where X is the sacrificed creature's toughness. We will tap the Hunter to give the Lotleth Troll +1/+1. Selesnya will tap 2 and play the Selesnya Evangel. This is a 1/2 Elf Shaman. You can pay 1, tap an untapped creature you control, create a 1/1 green sapling creature token, and then we will play a Selesnya Guildgate tapped. Izzet plays the Island. Izzet will tap 3 to play the Wee Dragonauts. This is a 1/3 Fairy Wizard with flying. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, Wee Dragonauts gets +2/+0 until end of turn. We'll go to combat. We'll attack with Firemane Avenger and the Lotleth Troll. They'll each attack 1 Hydra head each. This will kill 2 Hydra heads. We will gain 2 life apiece to take Golgari and Dimir to 12 and the others to 13. We'll reveal 4 cards to see if there are any new heads. There are no new heads. We'll pass the turn to the Hydra. The Hydra will cast the topmost card, which is Noxious Hydra Breath. We actually don't want to lose the Firemane Angel or the Lotleth Troll, so we will take 5 plus another 2 for 7 damage apiece. We'll tap the Protector to protect Dimir. That means that Golgari will go down to 5, where everybody else will go down to 6. We'll use the Harvester. Dimir draws a Wall of Mist and discards the Wall of Mist. Boros draws a Mountain and discards the Mountain. Golgari draws a Shambling Shell and discards a Forest. Selesnya draws a Tolsimir Wolf Blood and will discard a Selesnya Sanctuary. Izzet draws an Island and discards an Island. We'll untap. Dimir draws a Ribbons of the Night. Boros draws a Swiftblade Vindicator. Golgari draws an Elves of the Deep Shadow. Selesnya draws a Forest. Izzet draws a Nivix Guildmage. Dimir will spend 2 mana to cast Dimir Charm, targeting the Hydra, and will use a 3rd ability which says look at the top 3 cards of the target player's library, put 1 back and the rest into the player's graveyard. We'll put these 2 in the graveyard and put Disorienting Glower back. Then we'll play the Dimir Aqueduct. We'll pick up the island back into our hand. Boros will play Sunhome Fortress of the Legion. This is a land that has tap for colors and 2 red-white. Tap, target creature gains double strike until end of turn. We'll tap out. For 5 mana, we'll play the Argus Cost Wojek Veteran. It is a 3/3 legendary human soldier. Whenever it attacks, attacking red creatures get +2/+0, and attacking white creatures get +0/+2. We'll tap the warrior to give it haste. We'll tap out over here to cast the Shambling Shell and a Deathrite Shaman. And then we'll play the Golgari Rot Farm, picking up the Swamp. We'll tap the Hunter to give the Loudmouth Troll +1/+1. Selesnya will play a Plains. We'll tap 4, and we'll play the Conclave Cavalier. It's a 4/4 Centaur Knight with Vigilance. When it dies, create 2 green and white Elf Knight creature tokens with Vigilance. Izzet plays a Mountain. We'll spend 3 mana to play a Gutter Snipe. This is a 2/2 Goblin Shaman. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, it deals 2 damage to each opponent. We'll tap the Guildgate to tap the Signet to play the Firemind Research. This enchantment. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, put a charge counter on Firemind's Research. For 1 in blue, remove 2 charge counters to draw a card, and then for 1 in red, remove 5 charge counters to deal 5 damage to any target. We'll go to combat. We'll attack with Argus Cause and a Loudmouth Troll. That'll kill both the heads. We'll gain 4 life apiece to go to 10 each, except for Golgari, which will go to 9. We'll reveal 4 cards to see if there are any new heads. There's 1 new head. We'll pass to the Hydra. The Hydra will cast the topmost card, which is Distract the Hydra. Each player may sacrifice a creature. Each player who sacrificed a creature this way chooses the head and taps it. Each player who didn't sacrifice a creature loses 3 life. We'll choose to lose 3 life. We'll also take a damage from the head for 4 damage apiece. Selesnya will tap the Protector to protect Golgari. That'll take everybody down to 6 each. At the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Dimir draws a Dimir Aqueduct and will discard the Mission Briefing. Boros draws a Plains and will discard the Plains. Golgari will draw a Golgari Fangbroker and will discard the Elves of the Deep Shadow. Selesnya draws a Plains and will discard a Plains. Izzet draws an Izzet Guildgate and will discard the Guildgate. We'll untap. Dimir draws a Morai. Boros draws a Sunhome Guildmage. Golgari draws a Zoni Thousand-Eyed. Selesnya draws a Selesnya Signet. Izzet draws a Niv Mizzet the Firemind. Dimir will play an island, and then we'll tap 4 to play Atrada the Silencer. She is a 3/5 legendary vampire assassin. She can't be blocked. Whenever she deals combat damage to a player, exile the target creature that player controls and put a hit counter on that card. That player loses the game if they own 3 or more exiled cards with hit counters on them, and Atrada shuffles into the owner's library. We'll tap 3 to play the Boros Key Rune. This is an artifact. You can tap it for red and white, or pay red and white to make it into a 1/1 red and white soldier artifact creature with double strike until end of turn. And then we will play the Guildgate for red and the Plains to play the Swiftblade Vindicator. This is a 1/1 human soldier with double strike, vigilance, and trample. And then we'll play a Boros Garrison and we'll pick up the Plains. We'll give the Vindicator haste. We'll play the Swamp. We will tap out and play the Deadbridge Chant. It's an enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, put the top 10 cards of your library in your graveyard. At the beginning of your upkeep, choose a card at random in the graveyard. If it's a creature card, put it onto the battlefield, otherwise put it into your hand. We'll dump a Swamp, Slum Reaper, Golgari Signet, Savra Queen of Golgari, Grave Shelf Scarab, Elves of the Deep Shadow, Grizzly Salvage, Golgari Charm, Charnel Troll, and Swamp into the graveyard. Selesnya will tap everything and then play Tristani Selesnya's Voice. She is a 2/5 legendary druid. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain life equal to that creature's toughness. You can pay 1 green, white, and tap to populate. And then we'll play the Selesnya Sanctuary, which will go into the battlefield and pop back the Plains. We'll go to combat. We'll attack with this trio right here. And that will trigger the Firemane Angel, which will then do a Lightning Helix, dealing 3 damage to the existing head. The head dies, each player gains 2 life, and Boros will gain an additional 3 life. That'll take each player up to 8, and Boros up to 11. We'll reveal 2 cards to see if there are any new heads. There are no new heads. And so the Guilds of Ravnica kits defeat the Hydra in straight sets. The second one was a little bit tougher, but let me know what your thoughts were in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. If you'd like to see more of these videos, you can hit subscribe. Next time I'll be pitting these 5 kits against the Battle of the Horde challenge deck from Born of the Gods. Until then, this was Refresh, and thanks for watching.